meeting to order. Okay, with that, I think first thing on the agenda is roll call.
Trustee Gayton,
Here.
trustee Cook,
Here.
trustee Campbell, here. Trustee Thomas,
I'm here.
trustee Fritz,
Here.
trustee Dom,
Here.
trustee Henry.
Present. I don't think is your board want to introduce themselves. Foundation board like to.
Yes, so since this is our meeting as well, so I'm going to do a roll call as well, and then you can, everybody identify yourself as I call the roll call. So I'll also call the McHenry County Conservation Foundation Board of Directors meeting to order, and I'll do a roll call. Kevin Ivers. Here. Kimberly Becker.
Here.
There's Kim. Ray Eisbrenner. Marty Gorman.
Here.
Dennis Strayer.
Here.
Kim Altoff.
Right now I'm here.
Okay. Jim Heisler. And Brad Sell.
Okay, so everybody here for one way or the other. So very good. Thank you. With that, we are open for public comments. Stephanie.
There are no public, there is no public, nope.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Board discussion, memorandum of understanding. That's the one thing we have written up for us. So are you leading that, Elizabeth, or Shauna?
Shauna and I are going to co-lead it. I guess I will start. And then Shauna and I have provided each of you in advance a draft copy of a red line version. Several years ago, the district and the foundation established our first MOU. We had been working with the foundation for quite some time, put out the best management practices to get an understanding as we were beginning to move in a new direction, bringing on a new executive director for the first time. We thought it was really important to outline roles and responsibilities, what the district would provide to the foundation in exchange and what the foundation would provide back to the district. So Shauna and I did meet to go over the document and made some general changes based on where we are. And we would welcome any comments. And then we did want to just go through some discussion items with some of the areas that we moved that we felt was really important. One of them being communication and marketing of how we support the foundation and the work of the district staff and events and programs. We thought that was really important to have a conversation on. Looking that this would be another 3-year agreement that we would put into place, and we would bring it back to both boards with any changes that the board discussed this evening. And then a shared responsibility, the way the positions worked for the executive director was we've always, when we've done reviews, I've done a shared review with the foundation board and assisting and filling out a review for Shauna, and this would codify that. That is in the document as well. And any other highlights, Shauna?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Megan. I missed it. Thank you. I need a motion for the consideration of a motion to allow the board of trustees to attend remotely through electronic participation as per administrative policy 2.04.02. The basis for missing the meeting is due to PA 101-0640, suspending requirements. A member of the public body must be physically present. Thank you, Megan. Do I have that motion? Lynn has a motion. Chris has a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Dom.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Campbell.
Yes.
Trustee Gayton.
Yes.
Trustee Henry.
Yes. Thank you.
And likewise, we'll need to do that as well. So we have second is Kevin. All those in favor of the roll call. Kevin Ivers. Yes. Kim Becker.
Yes.
Ray Eisbrenner. Yes. Dennis Strayer.
Yes.
Brad Semmel. Yes. Kim Altoff.
Yes.
Jim Heisler.
Yes.
Oh, I'm.
Marty Gorman,
Marty
yes.
Gorman. I called you out on my list the first time.
All right, now we're back to our discussion of MOU.
So those were some basic things. I guess the board has had a chance to review that. Any questions, any other thoughts that you want to make to this agreement? You know, obviously we want to get support that having an updated agreement is a good idea. And now would be the time to discuss anything that is working, things that would be looked at that we should improve upon as we go forward over the next.
This is would make sense just to go through page by page, because I kind of checked out notes and things like that. I usually have some very specific things you want to talk about.
No, that works great. And I can put it up on the screen for those at home here. So let's see that while we're getting set up here.
And I might add too, I think this is a unique experience where we're all in the same room. Because I think in the past, in 2018, when we created this, I think it was not so much a back and forth, but we were basically two different meetings. So got a nice opportunity tonight.
There's many new faces as well.
Yeah.
It's probably in this room hard to see, but for those at home, it's up on the screen, so you may be able to see that. So page 1. The first part's the purpose, and it states who we each are. And then it just describes what the role of what we're going to commit to is a larger, bigger picture, our mission vision, how we share mutual support of each other. Any changes to that page?
I just had a couple of questions. The third whereas you deleted scientific. And maybe it's not a big deal, but science is something the district does, and presumably we would support. Is there any reason for doing that?
So I deleted it because that's not in our mission statement at this point.
Not in our mission statement?
Yeah, our mission statement has been condensed since this MOU was created. And so any edits to that section are just to reflect our current mission statement.
Okay. I have one other just question in terms of so I mentioned the fourth whereas the second part says through private philanthropy. And my question is that sufficient to describe what we do? Because I mean that's typical fundraising, I guess, but we do lots of things. Just thinking the Camp Lakota project recently as an example that Brad was very involved in, Sean was involved in. It seemed like that was a lot more than just private philanthropy. So again, not a huge deal, but as long as we're going through it, maybe let's get some knowledge to describe what we actually.
We also pursue grants and other things that are well beyond.
So grants are considered philanthropy. Philanthropy is private fundraising. Like anything that we do in an effort to raise funds is considered philanthropy.
As compared to the district, that's a taxing body with public funding.
Did you have some wording or verbiage that you prefer?
Well, kind of like Brad was suggesting, that philanthropy is a catch-all, but I guess we don't talk about it. And I guess the other thing is it just private? Do we go after any public source grants?
I think that's a valid.
So, I mean,
well, yeah,
it just seemed like it was very limiting, in my view of philanthropy is different than what you just described, so I'm fine with that term.
I'm waiting to be acknowledged.
Oh, so
And this might be the only time you ever see me do that. I would agree. I mean, if this body here is actually talking about what that word means, that means the general public has no idea what that means. So might I suggest a little wordsmithing and say philanthropy, including or not limited to, or some additional that goes into all of those areas, so it's very clear what the foundation. I mean, we talk about it all the time, that people really don't make a distinction between foundation and district. They don't understand, because the foundation has been quietly supportive. we're gonna change that, I think, a little bit, make it a little bit more loud, but I do think we need to be as clear as possible what that means. So I would support, you know, a little bit of extra definition.
Yeah, when you say definition of philanthropy, that really, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, because I think about fundraising, writing grants and things is very different, but I guess if that's the definition, it's fine, but I think, like Pam says, if we're trying to get out there so people recognize who we are, I think it's gonna try to be more specific, and we're very broad in how we try to support the districts with funding.
So 3 years from now, you can say we really need to shorten it up because everybody knows what we mean. Right? I mean, that's kind of what we do, you know? So I would just suggest that maybe we take it as a learning opportunity and just expand on precisely what that definition is.
So private philanthropy, do we get rid of private and just say philanthropy? And I'm open to that, including not limited to donations, bequests, grants, that's whatever, that goes into the bucket.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good point.
Say grants from private and public sources.
Because we've got state grants and things, and that would really be considered private.
Right.
And the visitor center has been funded by public funding that we secure.
Did you remove private in front of philanthropy?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Questions?
Not to be too picky, but Brad just mentioned state grants. Is a state grant philanthropy?
Because if you keep private away, kind of different than a grant or.
If we said public and private, I mean, can we just say fundraising and then say including, and then go on down that list?
So get rid of philanthropy and put fundraising.
Public and private fundraising.
I think he had mentioned,
Not yet, not limited to-
including, and again, I think we can let Sean and Elizabeth work out the including.
So just to get a feel, I mean, you got the kind of the essence of what you're looking at, but it is the issue, you want to change philanthropy to fundraising, because philanthropy I think is a larger umbrella and then list the details of fundraising underneath that.
That's repetitive, public and private fundraising, including but not limited to donations, bequests, grants from private, public, I mean, put it one place, not another.
And so, Phil, I just looked it up because I actually was like, is it still considered philanthropy if it's from a public source? And it is. Philanthropy is any sort of donation to good causes. Essentially.
I like.
Anything else on page one?
That be included but not limited to, or
All right, page two, then there's the mutual covenants and the authority which were granted as a public entity for the district, and then how the and then just some background, and this is basically what we were doing together, and then a little bit more of the foundation. This section did get an edit because at the time when we drafted it the first time, we had aspirational goals. We were looking for hiring an executive director. Now that's been accomplished. It's part of our, how we do business. And so we felt that that could be removed from this chart of this. Everybody okay with that? And on page 3, responsibilities, and now the way the document is laid out, it'll go through and they're going to mirror one another, but we start off with the conservation district and then it will move into the foundation, and then the last section will be what we agreed to do together, and that's how it's laid out. So under this page, we have the governance, what the role is, and so commitment, best management practices from our board with our duties, planning, appointing one district trustee who will serve as liaison to the board of directors and attend meetings, which is something we'll do. Trustee Thomas is serving, or Secretary Thomas is serving in that role. And then you'll support the executive director, myself, who serves as an ex officio non-voting member, and provides the administrative oversight of the development director, executive director of the foundation, who dedicates 50% of his or her time to conservation district activities and 50% to the foundation's activities. And so with that, I think you've seen with a lot of the philanthropy that we've been doing, with grants that have been written and activities and events and things like that. That's how that was set out. And then number 4 was to assist the director, the foundation's director, with the recruitment, nominations, and appointment of directors to the foundation. And one of the things that Sean and I discussed on this one, I think before it had more of a role in feeling that that is a role the foundation does, looking for board members, but really the board of directors and board of trustees at the district level too should also be looking to recruit viable candidates to sit on the foundation board, and then to send that through to the foundation. Any thoughts on governance?
Which, well, right there, I will suggest that we're still looking for additional board members, so that is something. Even though Pam has been really great at adding at least one, and we are hoping for a second one, but we can hold up to 11 directors, so we are still looking for others if don't plan to suggest any.
The governance portion? Okay. Moving on to leadership, basically this states that we're going to advocate and support the mission, vision, values of the foundation. We're here together like peanut butter and jelly. So even though, we need to be partners in this, so we're going to support what they do. Stewardship, to ensure the dedication and use of the assets that will benefit the conservation district and its project partners, and that all gifts are consistent with donor intent. Legal, ethical integrity, maintaining accountability to avoid any real or perceived appearance of conflict of interest. Developing a culture of philanthropy. Can we use that word again? That each member of the board of trustees shall be encouraged to make an annual cash contribution to the foundation. And 4, the board of trustees and executive director and other members of the executive leadership team of the district will work in conjunction with the board of directors of the foundation and the development director or executive director of the foundation to identify, cultivate, nurture, and solicit prospects for private gifts. Any question on stewardship? Yeah, this is just getting into that we're going to work collaboratively together. And then number 5 is to acknowledge that the foundation will serve as the primary beneficiary or depository of funds raised through planning and executing the comprehensive fundraising and donor acquisition programs, including annual gifts, major gifts, planned gifts, requests, endowments, and this great language here that we can throw out on the other one if maybe. This was key in the first edition, and I think it still holds true. Prior to hiring on Shauna as our executive director, the district was accepting donations in a variety of things where money was coming in a variety of different ways. And so this established that any money that the district is receiving crosses over in the foundation to the depository, so that we're connecting that partnership and the connection. Right? So that's, we're not taking it to the district side. We store the gift and send it over, and then the foundation helps bring that gift in. I'll look at that.
I get some type of accounting of those funds. In other words, what the balance is and what the annual interest or dividends from investments that are being held by the foundation with those funds. But we, the conservation district, get that accounting on some basis, an annual basis.
So yes, the Linda Thomas, whoever's the board liaison and myself, they monthly go over their, just like we do at the district, the treasurer's report and where their investments are, and then they do their annual audit. And so those documents probably, if they're not, we should share them to every member of the board of trustees, but that would be a way for you to review and to see how they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe an oversight on my part, I don't.
No, we have not annually or That has not been something that's really been, and I know at one time we asked the question and we got one answer, and a month later, we got another answer, it was like $200,000 difference.
There could be some sizable requests being invested for some eventual deployment.
So Bill, would you like to see that quarterly, annually?
Annually is fine, you know, personally, annually.
Can I make a recommendation that just as a policy, that the foundation has to appear as you guys start to plan your budget? Does that dovetail? I mean, that you would know where the monies have been allocated, what we're working on, but it again would kind of tie up the strategic plan that we've worked on and where we are.
Because there are times that we've had in our budget, a certain amount of money coming over. We haven't actually asked you or talked to you about it. How do we actually put that in our budget to say that that's what's going to happen?
So minimally, if there isn't conversation, I would say that as the district goes forward and tries to plan its budget for the following year, that there be a presentation from the foundation about where the money has come from and where we are from a balance perspective.
We
And
started,
I don't think it has to be in rule, it's just to be a
well,
policy.
we started to develop an Excel spreadsheet with all the different projects that the district has requested funding for and how much that we've given back to the district. So each of the outstanding projects, what's been authorized for our, from the foundation to go back to the district. So, and that's in our board packet, but I guess we can somehow get that to the district. I'm not sure the best way to do that.
I think when we get to the suggestion would be, and I think that's a valid point, because the foundation we have under what they're doing is they're going to adhere to, just like the district does, accountability with treasurer's report, doing the investments, doing the auditor report, et cetera. And so maybe when we get to the section of the foundation, there'll be a place to say that a copy of the annual audit financial report will be provided to the board of trustees. That in there.
What triggers this, Elizabeth, is that when we retired the pension debt, there was $400,000 in some special fund that I don't recall being controlled by the foundation, but it was recognized by our land people that this money could be utilized for a purpose such as retiring the debt. So, in other words, if we have money in this drawer or that drawer, I think it's substantial dollars. The board of trustees ought to know where these reserves are, how they're designated, and so forth. And maybe it's just a learning process for the trustee. After a while, you realize where all these funds are being kept. But this distinction between the foundation being in charge of these requests and the district having certain funds that have been earmarked for land purchase or development, to me, there's some room for confusion there. So I'm just trying to say that as long as we're in this agreement, it should be clearly spelled out that funds such as this will be reported.
Sure, and I think, and Shauna, well pointed, I think we need to find a place to put it there. And Shauna, like when the staff of the district does our quarterly update, Shauna has a report that's quarterly done and shared with our board. And maybe that would be also a time, although the book about that could be a court, but we said annually, but the annual audit, but you could do a quarterly summary of a financial, just of where they're at a very high level. Maybe it would be helpful to the board to at least have that material. They're always available.
Quarterly, that would be.
So would you want, just so I know what you guys want to see, do you want the overall balance sheet? Because I've been giving an update on our fundraising progress quarterly, so you're able to see the dollars that have come in every quarter. But it doesn't give you the overall picture. So is a balance sheet good? Okay.
When we start there, and then if there's more questions, we'll add and subtract as we go along.
So we'll hold that thought, and when we get to that section, we'll see where we can insert that language. And the same way, is there any other, well, we'll get to that with the district. This is what the district's offering to the foundation, what we're going to uphold to. Okay, under this, let's see here. Legal fiduciary duties. So these are very specific. So with Fiderma as an extension of us, then Fiderma covers the activities that the foundation is operating under when they do an event and things like that. We try to certificate of insurance. We approve, we want to approve the annual conservation district budget. So Shauna and the foundation, you have your own budget, but included within the district's budget, there is an area for the foundation that covers the 50% of Shauna's salary, any of the educational training or other things that the district is handling. And then there's also, as you noted, when we do those projects that are approved by the foundation and then money's going to cross over to the district, then those get included in the budget someplace else. They may not specifically show up under the foundation, but they'll show in whether it's natural resources, the revenue coming in to support education. But that is, those areas are showing up in the district annual budget. And that just says that's how, so the money has a cash flow. Progress towards financial goals. So this ties into that, evaluate how we're doing towards that. So having a review of the annual financial goals quarterly helps to ensure that. And then obtain necessary certifications and training. So what we've had the foundation doing, because we are closely tied, and even though they're a non-public agency, they've been following open meetings act. That way there's no essence of impropriety or doing anything wrong. So we're closely tied and keep everything in its lane. So they go through the regular training. Any questions on the legal fiduciary duties? Administration-wise, charging the executive director of the district with responsibility to hire, direct, supervise, support, and evaluate and discharge the development director, executive director of the foundation. We did add complementary language in the foundation because there's a shared role for evaluation and hiring by the foundation. So we did include that language.
Where was that, Elizabeth? I couldn't find it on my-
Page. This is on page 4 for the district.
Yeah. They didn't figure out where that went.
It's on page 7, under B1, which would be work jointly with the executive director of the conservation district to hire, direct, support, evaluate, and discharge the development director. Executive director.
So Elizabeth, along those lines, would it make sense to add some similar language under the paragraph on page 4? Something like in cooperation with the foundation. If you just read this sentence alone, it would imply that the responsibility is solely the executive director.
We could add that, this is directly what the district is going to do. So the
Right.
district directors are charging me as the authority that controls what I do. And I think that's why we put a complimentary, but I'm happy to wordsmith it however the boards feel comfortable.
But we're saying that there should be something similar under the foundation.
And we did, we added it on page 7.
In what number?
It should be one.
B1.
on here. See, this is what happened.
Oh, I
Did
have
I
it.
staple it wrong?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it.
Yeah, it goes to 4 to 7 up to the D.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
6,
the,
7.
the middle one is the page before. So 5 and.
Somewhere else.
Are,
Well, that's-
Oh, it's page 8. That's page 8.
Is it page? Okay, mine it says 7 here, but
There's a PDF version as well.
But yours probably isn't tracking all the comments and things, which take, well, it's not.
I'm looking at the
it takes
PDF.
more-
that could be.
Well, I'm looking at your PDF.
Oh,
So it's
Yes,
under
here.
B1, administration, it says work jointly with the executive director of the conservation district to hire, direct. So that's under what the foundation is going to do. And then back under, and that was added, because that was what we felt it wasn't balanced.
So I guess, Elizabeth, my comment in light of that is for the page 4 sentence, it would just say, charge the executive director work with the foundation, so you have a parallel
Okay.
structure there. I mean, I think we all know, but when I first read this, I'm like, oh, are we giving up responsibility? We cut them down.
With the foundation to hire the
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. And again, I know there's some things that Elizabeth does that we don't know, but in general, there's a.
So does that work for you? Or do you want to? To charge the executive director of the conservation district to work directly with the McHenry County Conservation Foundation. And I can say board of directors on the. Or the MCCF. I'm trying to keep my language same here. Responsibility to hire directors, supervisors. Does that work for you?
Well, to work directly with the MCCF Board of Directors with the responsibility to hire, I would say we're charging you with the responsibility as well as, I don't know, responsibility to, as well as work with.
You want to say the mutual responsibility?
Can you just get rid of with the responsibility?
Yeah.
Charge the executive director to work directly with the board of directors to hire, direct, supervise.
We could just say mutual responsibility.
How about, because you want to say she's responsible, right? So she's responsible for, and in conjunction with the MCCF Board of Directors to hire, direct, and supervise, support, educate, and discharge. So she's charged with the responsibility as well, and to work in conjunction with,
So you can put the qualifying part of that.
more at the beginning. So she's charged the executive director of conservation district responsibility to, as well as working in conjunction with the district directors to hire, direct, supervise, support, and make necessary. But if we're charging her with that responsibility, you want to add in that it's going to work directly.
Does that work? That charge the executive director of the conservation district with responsibility to work in conjunction with the MCCF board of directors to hire, direct, supervise, support, evaluate, and discharge the development director, executive director of MCCF. That's the essence of what we're there. Great. Okay, district will provide office space and meeting space, provide computer, laptop, software, and smartphones, which we do. And those items are expensed on the district's budget side. Provide the director with a purchase card to perform their duties and guidelines. So that's done with all the, although it's the foundation side, that's for any transactional stuff through the district's budget on the card. And then you would have your own set of purchase cards on your side. Provide training and educational opportunities. We do budget for that. And then this is where we get into in-kind of the district staff. So in-kind staff support for marketing and communications, including website management, social media, development of print collateral, media relations, video, etc. And then the conservation district will track time and materials for work performed, including the actual cost of direct labor and actual cost of materials and equipment. So the reason why we wanted this conversation is we do have a marketing team. The marketing team right now, we're down to, we're going to be discussing with our board to bring back a marketing communications person that does our print media and assists us. There's a lot that they do. I thought all along that the foundation is a client as other areas of the district are, whether they are education team, whether it be the executive office, whether it be our sites complete or natural resources to assist. But Shauna has been doing a lot of the things herself. And again, based on capacity of what our team has been able to do. And so this is just a commitment of seeing that the district should be providing those in-kind services to the foundation. Because in absence thereof, and a lot of its capacity, absence thereof, the foundation would be having to hire somebody to take on those roles and responsibilities. And so we just want to get a discussion with the board. Some of the things, clearly the SALSA, which is the customer relation management, Yvonne has been doing website upload Facebook, social media. Johnny, you've been doing a lot of that. So this is just a commitment, I guess, from our board of really the role of the district providing that in-kind service. The foundation on those efforts.
Well, to me, the branding and imagery, as we talked, we developed a website together. I think we create a synergy. And I think when we're able to do that on this marketing day to day, that's a huge asset. So right now, it sounds like we don't have the capacity to do that. Sean is picking up some of those tasks. And, ideally, it's needs, it's under the same marketing room. So right now, that's not necessarily the case, sounds like. So.
And part of that's because the district's capacity has been limited
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And it's a matter of prioritization. And so
Yeah.
I think the message is I see that it works. I understand our staff is limited with all the clients in-house that they need to work at, but I've promoted all along, the foundation is no different than a department of the district. I mean, they're a separate entity, but they also need to, you talk with the same language, but it's also a little bit of a different message, right? Because you're representing two brands. It's like a company that owns multiple product lines. You have to speak a little bit differently to the foundation's market than what the district's doing, but they got to push two different messages out, but they're compatible.
That's true too, yeah.
So what are you saying? So you've got that in there, but what happens if we don't do it?
Well, what we're saying is it's not. I think by the board backing, say, yes, we would like to see the staff at the district support this, and that's the direction that will need to happen. I also think when you hear this month about us bringing back on a communications person, we need in that team, we need that capacity to be able to do that, right? Because it does take a lot of effort to push out messaging on all the things to service, not only foundations that are in.
Well, I understand that, but once you put that statement in there, and then we don't have the capacity to follow through with it, what are the repercussions? I mean, it's just a nice statement to put in there, but it doesn't have a teeth in it, does it?
Well, I think the more successful that we are in promoting the brand of the foundation out there and using and leveraging that, the better success rate we are with going to be raising dollars.
Well, I understand all that, I'm just saying.
I
Go
would
ahead,
just say
Pam.
it's an intent. It's a statement of intent. If you can't, if you don't have the resources,
Right,
you can't make it. But I think the statement is important to show that is the intent. If there are additional funds, that would be a priority. That's how I would look at it.
And I think that's why it was there. Otherwise, if it was absent, I know there was, and I think we've come a long way, but I know when we were doing some of the events, like Captain Deer Wild Side or some of those other areas, there was a lot of staff time was being allocated to do some of those events. And that's the next one, we talk about staffing time. But really, the focus has been for Shauna and the foundation board to build relationships and not necessarily being doing event planning or doing marketing, those core areas to the professionals that have the expertise and leverage to get out and meet people and have them provide those services. So if it's intent, are there any thoughts on that, Bean, or do you feel that the district shouldn't be involved with promoting the foundation's work in that?
I guess the one question I have is, in the budget that was currently presented, or that was previously presented to us, are those staff augmentations to include the foundation included in that, or in the future, would there be additional personnel needed to support that additional workload?
So right now, the marketing team has had the director of marketing education, what was a communication specialist, and then the social media specialist. So right now, we're down to 2, because we lost the one at the time, and so we're going to come back to you. So this month, you're going to see they've re-looked at the position, and so the request is going to be to bring back that full-time position that's vacant. We've assessed it. And that role, not only do they do all the print media, helping to get press releases out, but would help manage the clients of the foundation here as part of that. So we're not adding additional. It's just it's absorbed that they just have to prioritize and put the foundation as a priority.
To me, the opposite of that is was alluded to. It would be like us hiring a separate, marketing PR type position. And to me, that's again a loss, and it's contrary to the synergies that we're trying to build up together here. So the common threads of imagery and branding, and again, I'm not an expert in that, so I don't want to pretend to be, but we've got Shauna to guide the language. And again, that's going to be a little different. It's going to be philanthropically focused, but at least we've still got commonality in terms of, you know, again, just the basics of it. Like our website is similarly, I use that as an example, you know, similarly flavored, if you will. So that's a huge benefit. So at minimum, yeah, the intent is there, and I think it should stay. And I'm glad we're talking about it because that transcends the broader picture here of, you know, how we're trying to work closely together.
Yes, it is a mutually supportive thing. You know, we're doing things that are helping the district is doing things to help us. And we both win. And as Pam said, it's a statement of intent. It's not a dollars. I mean, it implies dollars if we stand, but it's really just a statement of intent.
Well, I would just say that this is a cost center, as it were. And these are services, whether it's payroll or material or something, there's a cost to it. Now, it may be the best possible investment, and the district is going to benefit from it. But the district is funding this cost, so that's something that we have to understand, and it seems logical to me. But
Well, the foundation actually put $80,000 toward it.
well, sure. I mean,
So to get that established.
right. Well, and then I guess the question is, on an ongoing basis, how is this cost sharing going to work out? I mean, I don't know what the formula is, but clearly.
Can I make sure things? This is the best conversation ever, and I think that we all recognize how important it is to do this and be together. Because this, Bill, you're right, this is what we have to establish moving forward. I think we're kind of transitioning into a new partnership that maybe is a little bit more public and a little bit more active. So I think some of these things have to be worked out as to how we're going to share all the information moving forward, which is why we thought this would be a great opportunity to have a meeting like this. But you know what, we pay for it one way or another. If the foundation were to be responsible for it completely, we just don't have enough money to give you for something else. It doesn't, I mean, we can switch it any way we want, but as long as we know what each other are doing, I think that's more important than the rest of it. So we do have to share that information.
Because the district is primarily taxpayer funded. So if we absorb costs, then that a cost that the taxpayer is going to be addressing. Now, your point is very well taken, that if the foundation pays those costs, then it has less resource to support the district. So it's sort of a philosophical question, but it's a very good discussion to have so that we understand there's no free lunch here. If these are services and materials and programs that are going to be effective, they have to be cost effective. And whether the accounting is done in one department or another department, I guess it's just important that we all recognize what the cost is and how it's being paid for.
And that we sell the same message.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that I would say too. If we agree to do this, then when we all go and talk to the taxpayer that we are all responsible to, we're all saying the same thing so that the same explanation is being provided across the board. So there's a comfort level with those taxpayers that we're all working collaboratively and nobody's, putting a dime over here and not giving it to somebody. So I think it is, you're right. You're absolutely right, Bill. It's a good conversation. We have to get on the same page and we have to sell it, not sell. We have to share the same message.
And I think my guess on this is marketing and communications. We don't do enough of that to warrant a full-time employee that the foundation would hire. Sure. So that's why we'd like to share some of your knowledge and expertise of that one person's 20% of their time, just pulling that out of there. But that's the reason we're doing this. We don't have enough workload for a full-time market.
I integrate with what the district has and what's going on with the staff and by working together. And I think the reason why the time and material, obviously the staff time, whether they're promoting, the great outdoor beer trail that education is doing, or whether they send out a press release on something that the foundation is doing, they still require, necessarily not all our programs have a full cost recovery either, just educating about the district. So it's within their wheelhouse and their expertise, but the material, let's say a brochure was being printed, and that would come back, it wouldn't come out of the district consent, they would design it, right? So you got the time, but the materials then would be invoiced back to the foundation to, have them printed, right? So there is a division of.
I never brought this up to say that we didn't want to do it. I just meant that going full circle around where I started at is there's nothing in there that if we're not doing it says anything, all the foundation can really do is come to us and say, hey, you're not fulfilling number 7 of whatever page we decided this is on. And we can give them a reason why or why not, I guess. There's no real follow through on that other than for them to point out that we're not giving them enough support.
Well, I think to everyone's point, that's a good point of John's part is, if something should happen, right? Things happen over time. But the reality is we are trying to work together. We are trying to maximize efficiencies. It's not efficient for the foundation to take this on. And there's a lot of overlap in what we're doing, and we can build on that. If we do have the same message and we're working with that same message together, then I don't know that should be a problem because we're trying to be as efficient as possible with taxpayer dollars, and we're deciding that this is kind of the way to go about doing it. To Ray's point, not really augmenting our staff, which is trying to get back the staff that we had, so that we can start just doing normal business, which would include supporting you, keeping in mind that now the foundation is not providing resources to other organizations. We are now exclusively the beneficiaries of all the things that you do. So this idea of working together is extremely important. And so keep working with that message.
I think too, it's important to have a framework that somebody can have a piece of paper because we all have different term limits and everybody's kind of changing over. And so the next person comes along and here's something tangible to look through. And, this is the intent of the foundation was established to help the district meet financial needs that they could meet with taxpayer dollars. So just to give, and also it's a publicly available document, who's the foundation and why are we here? It's really the intent to do whatever we can to support the district financially in places where they can't meet projects or something that are beyond their limited income set by the tax income that comes in.
So we're good with that?
We're good with it.
Okay. And then it cascades over to the next one, which is for special events. For example, the foundation right now is a paddle saddle. Much volunteers that are used, but the district has help support in areas where we provide that support. So again, not that the foundation does a lot of events, but it would be staff resources that are available. We would help support them. I'm good with that. All right, let's see here. And again, ensure that the trustees and staff of the district support the work of the foundation. So again, we're together. We're not them and no connection. We need to support them. So that just means that we're going to do that. And then lastly, provide the foundation access to the district's legal counsel on legal matters with the approval of the executive director of the conservation district, unless there is any real or perceived appearance of conflict of interest and or need of special counsel. And this was added here as an add because later on the foundation side, it originally stated that the foundation would use the district's attorney. And in most cases, just like we do with other units of government, we share the same legal counsel as long as things are working, although we're different. But as long as you're working collaboratively and there's no conflict, then you create some, the economies of scale by working together if it's mutual. But sometimes you will need to have a different attorney that's reviewing things. And so this just that they can use our counsel, if there's something that needs to be done. And again, just so we're not duplicating the costs, if there's something that
Andrew gonna review this memorandum of understanding?
You can send it to him. I know the last time it was looked at, Ansel Blank was in charge, so we would send it and have Ansel Blank, Trustler look at this. And I think, that was the one question that came up was, who looks at it from the foundation side? Because there has been some discussion, the different councils, they do work with governmental entities that have foundations, which is not unusual. But I believe there was some comments made, that the foundation, the not-for-profit philanthropy focus should have another set of eyes that may see something different that's contrary to someone that's doing governmental law, right? Right now, you've been using Roger Spell, who also is the district council that does our land acquisition, but he doesn't handle our general corporate matters.
But in that venue, so in the Camp Lakota Boy Scout, we have to, this lease that we'll be discussing this evening, it was determined that we should have a lease, but Roger Stell is our counsel, and he helped develop it on behalf of the district. So we went through the procedures to say that, it's our best interest to have Roger, if he's going to be hired by us or he's going to be hired by you. And so we actually had to sign a letter to make sure there's no conflict of interest. So it works both ways. It could be it could be our legal counsel, yours, or whatever. But again, we're all hopefully working at the same venue to try to provide more resources for the district.
Working smart. Right? And they have a responsibility from a legal perspective, if there is a conflict of interest or things the parties are not in disagreement, that they'll have to step out. Anything on the legal side? Then strategy, that will work together to produce the marketing and communications, a marketing plan. And so right now, this has not been done. The foundation board's been working on your strategic plan, and Shauna has been developing the marketing plan, and that's something that would be a collaboration between the district marketing team and the foundation.
I just had a brief comment. When I saw this the first time, I didn't really know what it even meant. Now I've got a better understanding after the last 10 or 15 minutes, but would it help to put in just some examples of what might be involved in the marketing plan, like newsletter, website, social media, event promotion, and there might be one or two others, but those are sort of the concrete kinds of things we're already doing together. I can plan, but those are the things that would be kind of the, does that make sense?
So you're looking to define components that would be part of the marketing plan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had no idea what you meant by marketing plan until we started into this conversation. Now, I think I got a good idea or a better idea, but I'm just kind of throwing out some of these examples of what might be.
It would be once you look at the strategy, Sean and the marketing team would say, okay, here's our roadmap. We're going to send X amount of press releases out. We're going to hit, X amount of posts on, so there's some measurable pieces, right? That's their work plan.
But if you only have this document in front of you, I don't think it hurts to spell things out more rather than less right now.
That's fine.
Have a paragraph that talked about websites, where they had said just that, when we were thinking about website, newsletters, media.
Yeah, that's under the, of the in-kind staff support for marketing communications, the types of things they're going to do, those are the tools.
Yeah, no, that was it. And that was, okay.
Then putting website management, social media, development, and planner or media relations for the website.
Relations. I think that kind of covers it. And that would define how much in those areas.
As outlined in P7.
Seven. Anything else, Sean, on that one? Good. You want to lead the next step? The foundation?
Sure. So, continuing on the same page, we're getting into what the foundation board is agreeing to. Our general responsibilities, our governance, which is standard best practices for any foundation. Did you guys want me to go through each one individually, or does anybody have any comments regarding how the foundation board is agreeing to govern itself?
I'm just thinking in the interest of time, if other folks are comfortable with this, maybe move to the parts that have changed or there's an interesting.
Which page are you on?
So the next change or comment is under section C Stewardship. Number 7. Acknowledging the conservation district will be the responsible party for event marketing, advertising, raised or received through corporate sponsorship to support programs, activities, and special events. This section was highlighted because the foundation has been doing its own sponsorships, and the district has been doing their own sponsorships. And this can create some confusion for those entities that are being solicited for sponsorships and the individuals who run those entities. And so we wanted to have a conversation here around the idea that the foundation take on the responsibility of soliciting those sponsorships and bringing in those sponsorship dollars. They would still go back to the district for any programs or events that they were holding. And the district would still be responsible for marketing, for adhering to any sort of marketing promises like social media, landscape promotion, things of that nature. But the dollars would come to the foundation, and then we would be able to steward those donors beyond that sponsorship, hopefully. Also, the hope is that we could package sponsorship opportunities. So Scott Forge isn't solicited by the foundation for Pedal Paddle Saddle, and then 2 months later solicited by the district for Great Outdoor Trail.
We're going to collaborate on those anyway, right? It doesn't, we're going to collaborate on both of those events anyway, right? So what you're saying.
So I guess, what do you mean by collaborate?
Well, I mean, for the beer trail, so if we're going out for sponsorship for the beer trail, the foundation is still involved, right, with the beer trail? No, not at all. Not at all.
That's one of the things that we really need to kind of sort of talk through and address as we move forward, is where those funky lines are, where they should be, where they maybe where we want. I mean, I don't know the right verbiage to use, but as again, as we become more active, we're going to have that conversation, I think.
So we're really trying to come up with a way that can identify as a foundation as the philanthropic arm of the district, instead of the district reaching out. And as Sean mentioned, so if you go to a company A and say, could you give us $500 for the beer trail? And then suddenly you meet somebody, Sean is there to cultivate that individual instead of just $500 once a year. He might be very interested in conservation, end up wanting to give $20,000 if you cultivate that interest. Tell, here's a list of other projects that not only the beer trail, but this would be what the company could get involved with. So that you don't have anybody on the district staff to do that. So this as a foundation can go and try to cultivate those types of companies, individuals, and try to really secure additional funds instead of just that one-time sponsorship.
And it's quantifying it to the point where we may decide it's a foundation best practice or a fundraising best practice to ask Scott Forge for both events. But the way it currently stands, it's not coordinated, right? So it might be 2 different parties. And, one might not know that the other one had asked 2 months ago. So now it would be centralized underneath this professional executive director position and therefore coordinated, and we're able to reap the benefits that much more.
So that's bringing a foundation role into some of those larger events that would normally be handled by us, right? So that's what you're willing to partner on, some of these events that you would not normally be a part of.
We need to, yes.
Yes, okay. So, and that to me is taking advantage of your specialty while we take care of marketing. You got it.
That was too easy.
It makes perfect sense that you take on that, we take on this, that's why it works.
I can just ask a question. All of this makes sense to me. We're talking about this cooperative arrangement. When I read the language of this, it's pretty much one-sided. It says the district will be responsible for, rather than some type of shared or cooperative, or, I don't understand that.
So that's the original language in the original MOU. And so what we are bringing to the table is that we edit that language.
Oh.
So that the foundation is, and I'm sorry, the confusion is that we edited everything else but this.
Okay. I thought this is new language. And it didn't
No,
make sense.
no.
We need to figure out how to best do that, if we're willing to put sponsorship completely, solicitation and securing and landing it, the foundation, the fulfillment of advertising, promotions, the things that are required, and that goes to the district side.
Do we have a coordinated combined calendar of events? It sounds like we're doing things separate now. Do we have, can marketing do that? Do we have one place we know what's going on?
I think that is a wonderful idea, and that's something we should put on one. I think between Shauna's group of activities and our marketing and education team, they're there, but I don't know that there's one shared calendar.
Well, and along with that, then your sponsorship goes out when you're pushing out sponsorships. You're asking for a package sponsorship, not an event sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, give us $5,000 and you're going to cover any three things you want, put your name on it. And I would see, I'm just thinking, I'm the newest guy in the room here, but I'm thinking.
But that's why you brought.
Our logos go on all the events. I mean, both logos go on all the events. I mean, we don't have to have equal parts if you want to do the programming and do the fundraising, whatever, but we need that promotion so that people understand that there are two separate entities, they are working together, and that the monies are all coming in for the same common good.
I think it's a nice message to taxpayers too, that there is another funding arm that is attempting to reduce the expenditure that we typically ask them, to saddle all on their own. We recognize the value and the mission of the conservation district, but we're willing to create a foundation to assist meeting all of those goals. And I think that's a really decent message to sell to people. Having been one of those people.
So then I want to bring it out that co-branding has been a continued conversation between the two entities. So knowing that, the foundation board is very much in support of co-branding. Where does the district board sit with that?
And if you'd like to talk about that later and let us know,
Yeah.
that's okay too.
I haven't heard anybody say anything why they wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
But it might be awkward to do that with us sitting in the room.
Yeah, right.
Well, it hasn't come.
But they have a public meeting, so we can listen to it.
Yeah,
either way, you're gonna find out.
Well, two of us get together.
I appreciate that. I don't know. I personally don't know why we would have a problem with it. I mean, that's the whole point. We're trying to build this partnership.
I'm really surprised that your calendars are, those like your calendars and everything is quite as coordinated as I thought they were.
Well, the foundation doesn't do a lot of events, the district does the events. And so it's a matter of, I think that's part of the marketing plan with more focus, so that there is shared on the events, and that's what we've been pushing. So it's not an after effect. It's taken a while to get everybody on board to understand it's not the foundation over here. It's when the district comes, there's a table, this is what we're putting out brochures about what the district does, part of the conversation is, and we have a foundation, and this is how you, so the two have to come together, the peanut butter and jelly, they have to come together, not, it's not who gets credit. As far as the district, this is my program, I worked on it, or this is the foundation's program, this is ours, it's we, right, it's the collective us.
Unless they
It's
eat-
far less confusing too, I think, as to who, because I didn't, wasn't really thinking about the fact that the field trail was ours. I thought we were, so I think that's great.
We're not big enough to go alone. We really need each other.
None of us are.
And it's all for the common good. It's not like monies that are raised through foundation are gonna be split somewhere else. It's all coming back here.
I think promoting that co-branding will also clarify for, our constituents that, there are two separate things and, we work in conjunction to do all these things together. This is how you can help at this point in time.
So I went back up to the districts piece here, Sean, I just jumped up here and we'll go back down that. So under the districts, under stewardship, I just said acknowledge that MCCF will be the responsible party for soliciting and securing event corporate sponsorship. We could even get securing, get rid of event, securing corporate sponsorship. To support programs, activities, and special events of the conservation. So it's basically giving the foundation to do that task, and then we can go back to the foundation and figure out how we want to acknowledge, acknowledge that the conservation district will be the responsible party for fulfillment on events, however you want to word that. For the marketing and advertising.
Commitment.
And just get rid of the rest, raise through that, raise that to commitment on funds to support programs, activities, and special events. Right? Wait a minute, which one are you on? Yours? No.
The district is responsible for executing all the programs.
With the staff.
Yeah, got it right
And
there.
execution involves marketing, advertising, ensure the trails are available. When we do the execution, and they do the funding.
So one question I have, in terms of the term responsible party, because there is going to be some overlap and we're kind of evaluating, would it make sense to use the term lead party? So that it's your primary responsibility, but responsibilities and our contributions, we can actually pick up.
Let's say the primary lead.
Something like that.
And do the same thing up here with the district as well? That's covered.
Second one.
It's actually a little bit more appropriate to have a private foundation soliciting than public employees. I mean, it happens, but.
I don't know, I don't either.
Through corporate sponsorship, I guess I was saying that any
From the
corporate
dollars received.
sponsorship generally goes in the advertising because they want some type of branding, associated impressions and things like that. So there's gonna be, if you accept corporate sponsorship, it's different than philanthropy, because they want something in exchange for, right? Not just out of the goodness of their heart, all that could be, but usually there's some exchange, if I want so many impressions or so many, right? Absolutely. You have fulfillment, there's, you know, so you just say. So I need to change this, it's a little bit chunky here, so it's not working right. Now, conservation will be the primary means in executing marketing, advertising on for corporate sponsorship. And
Well, I would say marketing, advertising from funds raised in corporate sponsorship.
Obtained by MCCF.
Would it be from funds? Am I missing that? From funds obtained.
Better.
Funds obtained from corporate sponsorship obtained by MCCF.
Should it be from funds obtained by MCCF through corporate sponsorship to support programs?
Yes.
Corporate sponsorship. And then all right.
I would say through corporate sponsorship, sorry.
I think that's better. So legal and fiduciary, we had deleted the section about amending the foundation's bylaws because that has already taken place. So that's the edit there, and it just highlights our primary purpose from our bylaws there. We added per the Open Meetings Act, just because it strengthened the tie behind why the foundation was putting this in an MOU. So a little bit of language doctoring there. Number 5, ensure administrative and fiscal policies are adopted for organizational excellence, including but not limited to an ethics and gift ban policy, conflict of interest policy, whistleblower policy, records retention policy, purchasing policy, investment policy, etc., and that they are shared with the conservation district. Initially, in the original version, this was saying that all of these policies would be developed, and since we have developed and adopted a number of them, not all of them yet, we edited it to just ensuring that those things would be in place and that the district would have copies of those. So those policies that are listed here that we do not have in place, we will work to get on our goal as soon as possible.
And this is where if we were gonna add in, maybe it comes down later, but at some point where we would show the annual audit report. So we'll figure out where that goes.
Under administration, we already covered that added language for number 1, just so the board and the executive director of the district are working in tandem to manage the executive director of the foundation, and it's not the primary duty of just the executive director of the district. And then we're under mutual agreement. Number 3 is the first edit. The original language that that they would develop and adopt the position description for the board of directors role within the foundation. We already have one of those on the books, so the language was edited that you guys would discuss and mutually agree to any changes that need to take place. Number 4, working collaboratively to develop and adopt a 3-year strategic plan and an annual fundraising and marketing plan. Initially, the language that there would be a 3-year strategic plan, fundraising plan, and marketing plan. Traditionally, fundraising and marketing plans are developed on an annual basis. So we edited it to a 3-year strategic and a 1-year marketing, 1-year fundraising. 5, formally meet a minimum of once annually to discuss goals and project events of interest. The edit was just that we got rid of the time frame in which that would happen, and also loosened it to a minimum of once versus just once a year, because the more often you guys can get together to discuss your thoughts on the goals and the direction of our 2 entities working collaboratively, the better. Are you guys all comfortable with that edit since it does impact you?
That's how you're ready for it, right? Did you write for heaven?
Yes.
That's right, you just that way, but.
You can edit it.
It's falling under C, right? C, the conservation district and MCCF mutually agree to.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Number
So I'm
5.
just doing, I think, so. Besides that, so what this is saying that we mutually agree to meet at least one time minimum. Not committing to any more than, but I think it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't limit us, we would meet 40 times a year if we want to.
At least we made us meet once, this is doing good, this is more than we used to meet, right? So,
And then there were, I think that was the last edit that wasn't just general proofreading, updating our address, and updating the president of the district board.
We just want to add in, and we'll figure out where to place that best, what do you think, on the treasurer's report under administration?
That's what makes sense to me.
Elizabeth, I didn't hear you.
add under administration of the foundation, a copy of the annual audit will be provided to the district, and then a report made quarterly.
Actually, would that be legal fiduciary? I don't know which one makes the most sense, but it would be a fiduciary duty of ours, wouldn't it, to provide you with our balance? No, okay.
It's more of an administrative piece.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Right?
You guys call it your annual audit, you tell ours different here, we call it, your,
It's audited, but it's our annual audit or our annual unaudited financial statement, depending
Well,
on what we have to do each year.
Yeah, because we've gone over the limits that we have.
Yeah.
what's, accepted.
That work? Did we also want language about, or does it matter about the balance sheet quarterly?
Right, we'll provide balance sheet quarterly.
You did it first.
And do we want this, do we need the conservation district, and you live with them, and I will extend that, being known that I will find out, or do we want to be exclusive, do we want to be explicit and say by conservation district board of trustees?
I would be explicit. How about you say on a quarterly basis?
Which of course, it all gets complicated because our fiscal year and your fiscal year are different, so.
Yeah, that's all right.
So it's what-
It's still, yeah.
But for when they might expect it to come. Yeah.
Well, and we could decide, I think, Sean, we've got a regular pattern on our quarterly where we present, but we'll figure that out and figure out how best to. Great suggestions. Any other thoughts that are not here that you've been thinking about for the last 3 years that should have been on this document that we didn't cover? So here now, I think next steps is Sean and I will clean this up. We'll get this out to both, and the thought would be to our board, that we could get this out available for our board to adopt this month. If you guys are good with that, and then it'll go back over the next time the foundation meets. Be able to put that.
So it's not our board business this evening, but I guess we gotta set the table with all those changes.
So approving is not, it's just a discussion item on our agenda tonight. Just in case there was anything else you guys wanted to discuss. But as far as authorizing the execution, we don't begin it until November. So we may want a special call, so we don't have to get time where we don't have.
There's no one expired.
I would just say thank you. Texting was fun.
Anything else for MOU? Good there? All right, I guess on behalf of the district, we'd like to thank you for the gift of where we're going with the Boy Scout camp and all the work that went into that. That's excellent. We're looking for any, do you have any feedback for us or anything that you're expecting or anything that's, where you want to see that go that maybe we don't understand, or is there any more background to that, or?
Well, we're just saying that really was one of the highest quality remaining natural areas that was not public ownership. So we're really excited about that transfer or that acquisition. And tonight's board meeting, we'll be talking about a lease agreement so that there's again, an understanding that we are ultimately going to be transferring the property to the district, but just allowing the police to have oversight there, the legality in terms of insurance for the buildings and things before that gets transferred. So that lease is something that will come up with board decision this evening. Again, just to make sure that everything is copacetic and everything in the transfer goes.
You want to help else on any other topic that you'd like to bring up to the district tonight, as long as we're all here?
Well, I just want to say, we probably should have done this a long time ago, getting the two boards together. I know there are often misunderstandings about where, the foundation and what we do, and hopefully as we get, things in writing or maybe just meeting face to face, we'll get a better understanding that we're really here to serve the district and try to enhance the programs of the district. So if there's anything that we can ever do, or there's any programs or projects or anything, please be sure to get those our way so that we can address those and try to support the district.
We really appreciate the open dialogue more. It seems like Linda's not here tonight, but she's on Zoom, and she's been doing a great job of filling us in. But if there's anything, that you need to talk directly to any of us or anything, please call me or agenda or whatever, because we want to keep the dialogue going, and hopefully we'll meet more often than once every 3 years. So, I mean, we really appreciate everything that you're doing for us. Great, so if there's anything that you're thinking that we said we were gonna do and we don't get it done, let us know, and we'll try to figure out what we can do to get that straight around. Wait, anybody else have any, otherwise, I think that our board can adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
So move to adjourn. First, I get a second. I'm sorry. So anyway, it's easy for me to catch everybody this way. So, we'll call Megan.
Trustee Dom.
Yes.
Trustee Campbell.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
Trustee Fritz.
Yes.
Trustee Gayton.
Yes.
Trustee Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Henning.
Yes, we are adjourned. I'm assuming we can stay for part of your meeting until you have executive session or whatever.
And I think you guys are gonna adjourn from this meeting, the joint meeting, and then reset up at your next meeting, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you want me to make a motion to adjourn? I just did.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Kevin Ivers,
Yes.
Kim Becker,
Yes.
Ray Eisbrenner,
Yes.
Dennis Strayer,
Yes.
Brad Semmel, yes. Pam Malta,
No, let's just
Jim Heisler,
Yes.
and Marty Gorman. And it'd probably be good if anybody want to take just a minute break to use